Hey everyone, and welcome back to Battleborn. I've got a new build for you. This one is for Ernest, and I call it Eggcelerated Mayhem. The egg puns are pretty much required with this guy. So, with this build, you're going to be increasing attack speed and reload speed for yourself and your allies with your power eggs. You're going to have great territorial control with your explosive charges and your ultimate. Your explosive charges are also going to have the dual functionality of being your escape tool, so you're going to use those to blast yourself out to safety. You're going to have great wave clear, and if you're really good at leading your targets and dealing with the arcing grenade shots, you can rack up a ton of kills, or at the very least cause your enemies to retreat, and you can then control the area. So if this sounds like your type of build, let's jump into the Helix, and I'll show you how to set it up. Level 1, we go to the right with Concussive Charge. That adds a push to enemies and Ernest when explosive charges are detonated. That's great for controlling your enemies by blasting them around or using it as an escape tool like I mentioned earlier. Level 2, we go up the middle with Never Stop Shooting. That adds a 20% reload speed enhancement to everyone inside of your power egg when it's in attack mode, and we're always in attack mode, so you can always have that bonus. Level 3, we go to the left with Drum Mag. That increases our grenade launcher's magazine size by 2 grenades, getting it up to 8. Level 4, we go with Bonus Boom on the right. That increases the maximum amount of explosive charges we can have active from 2 up to 4, so that really increases your territorial control. Level 5, we go up the middle with the Ol Razzle-Dazzle. Any enemies we hit with a direct hit will get debuffed, so the next hit with direct hit will do 15% more damage. Level 6, we go to the left, doubling the health of our power egg with the Reinforced Shell. Level 7, we go to the right, increasing our reload speed by 25%. And reload speed is vastly important for Ernest. So we're getting our reload speed from the Helix. With the gear, we'll increase our attack speed and our attack damage. Level 8, we go to the left with Over Easy, adding a defensive shell or defensive shield to our power eggs and just giving them more survivability. Level 9, we go to the right with Shrapnel Burst, increasing the damage of our explosive charges by 15%. You could also go to the left with Bombastic Blast, increasing explosive charges blast radius by 25%. I don't personally find that useful. I'm pretty accurate with them, but I could see how that would be really helpful for people that may struggle a little bit with aiming them. But they're pretty accurate, so most likely you're going to get the increased damage on the right. And then level 10, I put a slow on my ultimate with Gridlock, which is really, really strong. Alright, so those are the Helix choices I make. Let's jump over to the gear. Alright, so this first set is what I like to take into Incursion and Meltdown game modes. It's much more expensive. First item up is Survivor's Regrowth Serum, 7 health regen per second, and an extra 4.2 if you survive for more than 3 minutes. Second item is a Symbiotic Gauntlet, 8.84% attack damage, 204 maximum health, and an additional up to 8.84% extra attack damage based on your current amount of health. So if you're at max health, you get another 8.84%. And then the third item I go with, the Vow of Zealous Fury, attack speed, critical hit damage, and a stacking attack speed buff every time you use a skill up to 5 stacks. Alright, so that's what I use for Incursion and Meltdown. If I'm going into face-off or capture, I like to take this cheaper set. First item, Artificial Vitae, 7 health regen per second. Second item, Duelist Glove for attack damage. And the third item, Hurricane for attack speed. So a cheap set here, all white items. Total cost is 1,260 crystals. Alright, so those are my Helix choices and my gear choices. Let's jump to some clips and I'll explain to you how the level progression works with this build. Ernest is pretty straightforward in how he functions, but he has a high skill ceiling because aiming his shots can be tricky. In addition to this, using explosive charges effectively for territory control and escaping requires good awareness and planning. Power egg placement is nothing special. You just put it in a spot it's unlikely to get attacked and can benefit yourself and your allies when peeking out to attack. At level 1, I usually place one explosive charge on the field defensively to fall back to, or offensively to prevent enemies from passing a choke point, and then I keep the other in my hand to use as an escape, or I use it to chuck it and finish someone off who's trying to get away. Level 2 increases your sustained damage by giving a reload speed boost to your power egg while in attack mode, and as I said earlier, we're always in attack mode. This buff is also a huge benefit to some characters, especially Whiskey Foxtrot, who becomes a damage machine in your eggs. Reload speed is vastly important for Ernest because without it, there's huge pauses in his damage as he does his super long reload animation. A constant flow of grenades onto the battlefield is much more threatening in general and is usually a good deterrent from enemies mounting a good push against you because not many people want to run into just constant grenades. Level 3 increases your magazine size up to 8 grenades. This further increases your ability to constantly rain down grenades on your foes and dissuade them from encroaching on your territory. It also improves your burst damage and gives you a higher likelihood of finishing someone off rather than being forced to reload and letting them escape, which is always just ridiculously frustrating. Just one more shot would have done it, but they get away. Level 4 bumps up the maximum amount of explosive charges you can have on the field to 4, which for my playstyle really means it triples it, since before I take this Helix I normally have 1 active, and after the Helix I usually have 3 active. Admittedly though, I do often forget to actually put all 3 of my charges out on the field, so don't be like me. Get those charges out so you can cover multiple enemy approach angles and give yourself multiple retreat or kiting options. Really aggressive melee characters will just follow you willingly wherever you want to go, and you can just run them to each explosive charge and blow it up, send them flying, they'll run back as you head to your next explosive charge, blow it up again. It's so much fun. Level 5 increases your damage potential by increasing direct hit damage on enemies that were just hit by a direct hit, and you also pick up your ultimate. The ultimate is really strong and can be used in multiple situations to great effect. If a melee is on you, then you can drop the ultimate at your feet and kite them through it, which will obliterate their health. If you're on a map with a choke point and your enemies push past it, then you can throw the ultimate behind them at the choke point and force them to run through it when they retreat back to their side. You can also just toss it onto someone and surround them with mines. This one is always fun because inexperienced players will just freak out and eat way more mines than they should have when they just run around trying to figure out what the heck is killing them. There's so many uses for the ultimate. It's such a fun ultimate. Level 6 doubles the health of your power eggs, making them much more difficult to destroy. This is even stronger since the latest patch, which universally lowered AE damage on skills, so you can't just have an Oscar Mike or Thorn show up and drop their Blight or Napalm to easily destroy it. They're going to have to focus it at least a little bit. Chances are good that at this point you have at least your Symbiotic Gauntlet activated, which is a huge boost to your damage, so if the enemy is focused on destroying your egg, then you can drop some serious pain on them before they manage to actually finish it off. Once they've destroyed your egg, you can usually kill them or force them to retreat, and the cooldown on the egg is so fast that you can easily just put down a new one before they come back, and you've maintained your territory, which is exactly what you want to do with Ernest. Level 7 gives you a 25% boost to your reload speed, and in conjunction with the level 2 reload speed boost on the power egg, his reload speed becomes absolutely insane. Combine that with the gear we take giving tons of attack speed and attack damage, and he becomes a real damage powerhouse at the late game. If you're landing shots, you can absolutely melt people, especially melee that try to fight you in your space, because they're likely taking an explosive charge and some shots as they come in. You can always drop your ultimate at your feet, and then they have to decide to try to burst you down or work on your egg and leave themselves open to free shots. The same kind of applies to ranged as well, but they at least have the benefit of not having to run through your explosive charges necessarily, but you can still just light them up with damage. Level 8 puts a shield on your egg. Level 9 increases your explosive charge damage, and level 10 puts a slow on mine explosions from the ult. These are all nice boosts, but don't change your approach to play in any way. Well, there you have it, the Eggcelerated Mayhem build for Ernest. Let me know how this one works out for you if you give it a shot. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.